It's game day. Big Deke news. Even though we got a game tonight, wanted to do a quick update video on some Steeler happenings because we got some injury news to go over that could really impact things for tonight's game. Some trade rumors, and then also I'll react to a take or two that's been thrown out there, not only by one of you guys in the comments, but also some famous Steeler people. So first, with the injuries, Deshaun Elliott is ruled as questionable, didn't travel with the team because of personal reasons, stayed back in Pittsburgh. I guess his status is still 50-50 up to this point. So obviously prayers up for Elliott for whatever he's got going on. But also, that kind of affects things. We know how good Deshaun Elliott is. We know that in recent weeks he's been a big reason why this defense has turned it around, because we've been able to play him up in the box. He's been able to help us out in the run defense. Not a coincidence. So it would suck if Deshaun Elliott's not able to play, but I do think we have enough depth on defense to handle what the Bengals got going on offense in case he can't go. Calvin Austin listed as officially out. Miles Killebrew obviously out. And then Malik Harrison, who's been practicing a little bit, trying to come off of IR, is listed as questionable. Now for the Bengals, the big injury news is Trey Hendrickson. He was listed as questionable throughout the week, but Ian Rappaport just said today that it's a long shot that he'll be able to go. So on the Bengals defense, outside of Trey Hendrickson, they don't really have much going for them. I mean, even with Trey Hendrickson, they didn't have much going for them. We were talking about how bad the Bengals defense is and has been in recent years, not only in run defense, pass defense, whatever you want to do as an offense, you can do against this Bengals defense. And if Trey Hendrickson's out, that just makes the Steelers' offense's job that much easier, because that's something I forgot to even mention in yesterday's preview, that we'll probably have to double Trey Hendrickson a little bit on offense. Kind of like what we did with Myles Garrett last week, but the sentiment's the same on a macro level to a micro level. Like the macro level was, if we had a nice balanced offense and had success against the Browns defense, we should be able to copy that success against the Bengals defense, because the Bengals defense is worse than the Browns. So if we were able to have a nice game plan against Myles Garrett, why wouldn't we be able to pull that off against Trey Hendrickson, who is a worse player than Myles Garrett? Don't get me wrong, Trey Hendrickson really good, but you get my point there. So obviously we'll get more information revolving around the injuries and these players' game status as we get closer to the game. But now I wanted to transition to trade rumors, and we got some legit shit out here. Ricky the dog, the dog burner account that drops all this NFL news, not only got his account deactivated for some of the stuff that he dropped, so you know it must be serious, but mentioned some receivers that are on the Steelers' radar as guys that are likely to be traded. First was Jakobi Meyers, and then the second was Chris Olave. He also mentioned some stuff about teams that are seriously looking into receivers, like the Patriots. I believe he might have also said the Giants. So the Steelers are going to have some teams to compete with for some of these receivers that are out here. But that's why Omar Khan gets paid the big bucks, because it's not only going to be about what receiver we get potentially, but it's like, what receivers did we maybe miss out on, and what teams did they go to, and what compensation did they give up for those receivers? Could we have done that, or would it have been too much? Like, that's going to be a lot of the speculation and debate as we get closer to this trade deadline and these moves happen, because I do think there are going to be moves. He also listed Jalen Waddle as a guy that the Dolphins are taking calls on, but he also thinks it's unlikely that they trade him. So this isn't anything like groundbreaking, but I think it further confirms that receiver trades are going to be popping off. Olave, good chance he's going to be moved. Jakobi Meyers, good chance he's going to be moved. And the Steelers need the upgrade in the receiver room, no doubt. Again, you could go through the list and talk about who you think the Steelers' top priority should be, who's your preference. I still like Jalen Waddle one. Like, if we could get Jalen Waddle, I think he's got the most pop to his game and can really be a difference here because of the speed. Chris Olave got that speed, not to the extent of Jalen Waddle, but the problem with him is the injury history and the concussions. Jakobi Meyers is probably the most steady, consistent, but doesn't have as much pop to his game as a Jalen Waddle. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, little less proven in being a consistent receiver year in and year out, but I mean, the playmaking is off the charts with him. And he is at least a wide receiver, too. I think he's proved that with the Saints. He could give you 700-800 yards, also good in the return game. So there's some extra elements to his game as well. I'm trying to think of another receiver. A.J. Brown has been floated out there. I think that's more pie in the sky. Don't know how much he would fit, if it would be too much overlap with DK Metcalf. It's obviously something you have to think about, though. I mean, if A.J. Brown's available, the Ole Miss wide receiver reunion, the connection with Arthur Smith, you'd have to think about A.J. Brown if legitimately available. I don't know how legitimately available he is because of the dead cap and all that stuff the Eagles would have to take on if they're trading him this early in the new contract that he just got. Am I missing another receiver? No, I think that's the list. Like Jalen Waddle, Olave, Shaheed, Jakobi Meyers. I guess you could bring up Lazard. It seems like his relationship with the Jets has gone on a downward trend. Yeah, I wouldn't be as excited about Lazard compared to the other four. But in terms of the other four, I would rank it like Waddle, Olave, Shaheed probably as my top three, and then Jakobi Meyers as four. But you guys let me know who you would prefer, who you think the Steelers should prioritize in terms of these receiver trades. And then last couple of things here. Wanted to react to Cam Hayward and Bill Cowher talking about how this Steelers team is different. Cam's talking about how the chemistry is at an all-time high.
I just think we're just a more together group. More fun is winning more games, but also just being around each other a lot more.
You know why the chemistry's at an all-time high and the vibes are so good? You know the secret? You want to know the secret? You want to? I'll crack the code for you. It's because we got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. That's what it is. Don't get it twisted. From a defensive standpoint, the changes have been key as well, like a Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, Patrick Queen going into year 2, being more comfortable, Derek Harmon really emerging in his rookie year. And we needed that too on defense. Like our defense was collapsing last year. Our defense hasn't really portrayed what it means to be a Steelers defense over the last couple years when push has come to shove. But it's the NFL in 2025, man. Like, that's all well and good. You need some sort of a competent defense, and it's nice to have an elite defense. No one's complaining about that. If you can have a top 3 or 5 defense, that's going to help even more. But if you don't got the quarterback to take care of business, if you don't got elite quarterback play, you're just lying to yourself when it really comes down to it and the season wanes and you get to the playoffs. If we didn't have Aaron Rodgers here and playing the way that he has, our fate would just end up like how it has been most likely. Maybe we win the playoff game and the wild card or something like that because we have a little bit better of a defense. But it's like, are you actually serious if you're not getting top quarterback play? No, this is the NFL, man. We've been talking about this over the last 2 decades. If you don't got elite quarterback play in here, you ain't going anywhere. You could have a nice season, you could have a nice regular season, but when it comes down to divisional rounds, AFC championships, Super Bowl, going on a run of winning 3 or 4 games in a row, you got to have that guy. You got to have that guy. And Aaron Rodgers is showing that he's still that guy. Our quarterbacks since Ben weren't that guy. Now, could have Kenny Pickett been that guy? It's still up for debate. I digress. But anyway, Rodgers is playing at an elite level. So that's why the chemistry, that's why the vibes are so high. It's Rodgers, man. It is, because we actually believe we got a chance. We do. We thought that for a second with Russ last year, but then 0-5, embarrassed ourselves in the wild card. And we made the pivot this offseason, rightfully so, after we saw Russ's full body work and said to ourselves, yeah, he's limited. We're not going to be getting vintage Russ at a consistent clip. He's not that guy anymore. He's not a franchise elite quarterback. He can give you average play, potentially. But after you saw with the Giants this year, I don't even know if you're getting that. They were pretty quick to bench him. So it's Aaron Rodgers, man. That's it. That's it. And Bill Cowher agrees with me.
I think the biggest thing is just the identity that A-Rod's given you on offense. I think he's given you some credibility for the first time since Benson's been there. I think he brings a little bit it's not up to Cam and TJ to have to lead that group now.
Things around him haven't been perfect. The O-line's been shaky at times. We only have DK Metcalf really as a legit weapon. The running game's been up and down. Yet we're 4-1. The offense still finds ways to score points, stay on the field, be efficient. Not a coincidence that it's because of Aaron Rodgers. And it's not a coincidence when you talk about all these other teams around the league being contenders and who's got the best chance to win the Super Bowl. They're getting top quality quarterback play. Obviously, they got some other things going for them. Some of them have good O-lines, good defenses, but if you don't got the quarterback, it don't matter. Now, I got to be honest. Guys like Baker, Jared Goff, I don't know. I still have my hesitation on what they will do when the lights are brightest because we've seen them step up on occasion, but also not be able to fully get it done to that extent. And it's hard. Maybe we do got to give some slack here on some of these quarterbacks and talking about them to a certain degree of who can get it done, who can't. It's very small margin for error in these games, and having to win, again, 3 or 4 in a row in the playoffs against the best teams in the league, potentially going on the road, all that type of stuff. It's tough, but that's what separates the GOATs and the greats from the above average and really good. And Aaron Rodgers has shown that he could do that and has done it before, unfortunately. But that's that. Last thing I wanted to go over, this is still related to Tomlin's comments on the Flacco trade. Tom Pelissero was saying this week, everyone around the league who he talks to, executives, higher-ups, has been calling him about that as opposed to trade rumors and other stuff that he typically gets calls about.
But there is not one thing in the NFL that more people have called me about, more than why the Titans fired Brian Callahan after 6 games, more than what's going on in the trade market. I've gotten more questions about what Mike Tomlin had to say when he was asked about the Browns trading Joe Flacco in the division to the Bengals.
And one of you guys brought up an interesting theory, I really like this, as to why Tomlin was pissed off. I think it was because it's just out of principle. You don't help out a division rival when they're hurting and they're down. It's just, come on, bro. Read the room. But one of you guys took it a step further and thinks that Tomlin's pissed off at the Browns because they're tanking and they're making it clear with this Flacco trade. Says, dude, you don't get it. Tomlin is accusing the Browns of tanking by canning a quarterback good enough to be starting a season opening game, then trading him to a division rival a few games into the season seems stupid if you're trying to win. Has job security been promised to the coaches? Head coach is Tomlin's friend who coached with them at Minnesota, and even the players, they deserve better than rookies if you got Joe on the roster. You missed the whole point Tomlin was trying to make, Deke. The Browns are tanking. Again, we never draft anyone above 20, pick number 20 in the draft, it seems, and that, as much as anything else, has a lot to do with not winning in the playoffs. Guys that are overachievers can win in the regular season. Takes real talent to win in the playoffs. Seems to be same teams always drafting in the top 10. I think some people, Tomlin, are getting sick of it. Like I said, it's an interesting theory. That's why I wanted to react to it. The only problem I have is that Joe Flacco was bad for the Browns this year. There was no one really saying, Browns, you guys are stupid for benching Joe Flacco. Look at his number. I think he had 2 touchdowns, 6 picks, and Browns were losing, so they got the rookie quarterback. They got Gabriel. They got Shedeur Sanders on the roster. So they're thinking to themselves, we could lose with one of these rookies, so why not see what they can do and potentially develop them, and then we'll get more of an answer heading into next offseason on whether or not we need to draft a quarterback. I don't think anyone was debating the Browns' decision to bench Joe Flacco, and then once you bench a guy, he becomes expendable, especially if another team around the league feels like they could use his services. It's just weird. I will say this. The compensation was weird, considering that the Bengals were trading for Joe Flacco to obviously be their starter. Probably should have cost a little bit more, especially for a division rival. Brown should have made the Bengals pay a higher premium. The other weird thing I alluded to already is just the fact that you are helping out a division rival. Middle of the season. A division rival that's hurting. Just out of principle, you don't do that. So there is some, I get what you're saying. There is some sketchiness to it. I think the problem is Joe Flacco was legitimately playing bad for the Browns, and they benched him. So that makes him expendable for a trade. And I'm thinking that Joe Flacco, after what he did with the Browns this season, his trade market wasn't that robust where people are complaining about, oh, Browns, you traded Joe Flacco to the Bengals for whatever draft pick it was. Man, that's way worse than what we would have given up for. Like, you should have traded him to us. I don't think any team's complaining about that. Oh, we would have given up a 4th or a 5th for Joe Flacco. But since it is the division rival, you should be making them pay a higher premium. So I think that's the weird part about it. Let me know your thoughts, though. Do you think Tomlin sent a message about the Browns tanking? Like, the Browns are they're just that bad. I don't even think they're smart enough to tank or know how to tank. I think that's the other thing with this. But let me know your guys' thoughts. I don't blame Tomlin for being pissed. Out of the principle, I'm with him. Helping out a division rival, like, you don't do that. That's just something you don't do, especially for that price. If you're making the Bengals give up a 3rd-round pick, it's like, okay, you're hurting them a little bit. They're hurting with no Joe Burrow, but if you're going to trade them your backup, make them hurt even more or a little bit more or in some sort of other way by giving up a decent draft pick to get them. What was it? Was it a late round pick swap or just a 6th-round pick? I can't remember. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. It was an interesting theory. I wanted to react to it. But even if you have any other thoughts on the other things talked about on today's show, the injury report, the wide receiver trade stuff that was out there, and Aaron Rodgers and the difference that he's made on this team and how much it really does affect our ceiling and what we're capable of. But yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will be going live after the game tonight, 11 something Eastern Standard. Whenever the game's over, we'll be going live. We'll be reacting to it. Hopefully after a dub. That's what I expect. But stay chilling. Peace.